All right, guys, how you doing? PowerStroke Jude here, along with Princess Jamie and Key Built It. We're doing the next project that we are working on together for TTS, Teck Stocking Shop, and it's going to be a cool project. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about. We broke off into three groups, as you can see. There's only three of us here, so there's two other groups, and you'll see them in their videos. But I'll let Kyle or Jamie go ahead and explain what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. You want to go, Kyle? Or Jamie? Go ahead.
Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about, we're going to give another overview of what Teck Stocking Shop is and how we came about, and our geographical separation between each other, how we're able to work on these little projects together and still provide good information to the community. YouTube, Instagram. We don't have a Facebook page yet, but we are trying to basically put out all the information with like tools, equipment, shop life, general tech chit chat, and even dab into a day-to-day in our personal lives, how we came about, our upbringing into the industry, and so on and so forth. Kyle?
Yeah, it's been we've been off to a really good start, and everyone did a little bio video, and this will grow on that video, but also go more into Teck Stocking Shop as a group instead of just our individual background. And I know that, at least for me, it's been a really fun and informational experience so far, and we're only about a month into it. So.
Yeah, we have a bunch of different skill sets throughout this group of 10, and we're creating these sub videos so that way we're not overburdening the information, overburdening the channel. That way you can see like different points of view throughout Teck Stocking Shop, different skill sets, different avenues of shop life, different geographical locations, and so on and so forth with that.
So,
yeah. Go ahead, Jude.
So I guess today with the three is basically what we do. Kyle and I are essentially mobile mechanics at this point. I've also worked at a dealership in the car on the automotive side for years, and I worked at a truck center for years as well, and I've run a shop. Jamie is, killer at fabrication, especially when it comes to off-road fabrication. And that's kind of what our group's going to be. Other groups that you're going to see are going to talk about fleet life. I guess four of our groups going to talk about working for fleets, and the other three are going to talk about working for an independent shop or a dealer. But Jamie, why don't you talk about fabrication for a little bit?
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's my fault.
A little bit what I do. I focus more on the custom 4x4, taking completely stock vehicles and just seeing how we can make them better, stronger, keeping the roadworthiness, keeping a good sense of trailability, drivability, reliability. So when vehicles come off the showroom floor, there's several different modifications that people want to make, and that's one thing that I more focus on. But I do like have subsets and like diag and just regular general automotive repair. That's a little bit what I do. Welding, fabrication. You have to focus on heavy on that just because of all the different modifications and powertrain swaps that I'm focusing on right now.
I know for me, it's a lot of mobile stuff. I do a little bit of everything from, basic and advanced diag to, basic and advanced honor. Could be, oil change and brakes for one job. Pretty simple. Next job's computer problem. ECM, PCM, CAN bus I have to diagnose. What about you, Jude?
Right now, I would say I'm mainly mobile, but mobile mobile, I'd say I'm mostly mobile diag. If I have to look at something, I try to get it. Not so much on the road unless it's like an emergency situation. Now, I also do a lot of diagnosing for a few shops around my area. Uh, as far as Wrightwood, which is about 40 minutes. And there's a few shops that are local, and if they get a diesel in, they just call me, and most of the time, their guys will end up repairing it. After I kind of tell them what they need to do. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's a lot of stuff at home, or mobile, but at home, and diagnosing for shops.
I also focus on a little bit of the mobile aspect as well. I am working out of a shop that's a little bit out of my reach, but it doesn't mean that I can't just go to the shop, get some things, bring it home, do some mobile diag repairs, or even get my truck and trailer and bring a vehicle to the shop to get worked on by myself or the shop owner.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
Jude,
Either one of you guys can take this question, but when you're working mobilely, what do you think is the best aspect about working mobile, and also the worst aspect or the worst thing about it?
Talking about myself or Kyle?
I'll go and go.
This is for both. Yeah.
So best thing is it's just really cool to see a customer happy when you successfully repair their vehicle, and know that when you're sending that vehicle or leaving that vehicle, quite literally, the vehicle never came to your shop, you went to it and you leave their location. You're leaving a vehicle that is reliable, safe, and properly repaired. And I think that's the best part. The only those two major downsides, at least for me, possibly three. One is everything's on the ground and floor track and jack stands. You don't have a nice, 2-post, 10,000-pound lift to get the vehicle way up off the ground. The second big one is you don't have, you can't bring everything. I mean, you look at the amount of stuff you have in a shop, and yeah, sure, for if you really commit to mobile repair, I mean, you can set up a trailer with a hydraulic press. I've seen them set up with tire machines and balancers, but for someone, one of us, that's not really super practical. So not being able to bring everything you own is definitely annoying at times. There's always that tool that you need once in a while and you never know when you're going to need it. And when you don't have it, that can be annoying. And the third thing is sometimes you got to deal with the weather. Customer may not have a carport you can work in or something like that.
Yeah.
I can double tap on that as well, and not just to add on to what Kyle said. Sometimes you're dealing with the safety aspect. Like if it's on the side of the road or on a highway or like an on ramp, and you're working on this vehicle trying to either get it out of the way to work on it or trying to get it back up and running as safe as possible. And when you got cars flying by yourself, it can get a little tedious, get a little nerve wracking. And also like not having that tool, but also knowing that, especially if you're living in and around a big city, you always got like things like Harbor Freight, Northern Toll. You just go in there, you get what you need, get the job done, and again, see a happy customer. Or if you have to just get it to a point where they can drive it to either your place or their place where you can get it to a safer location to finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one more, touching on what Kyle said again, is like when you don't always, it's not even always that you can't, when you're on the road, that you can't take what you need. Sometimes it's just when you could have taken it, but you didn't. When you forget something and then you have to go and make a trip, like you said, whether if you're able to get something at Harbor Freight or AutoZone or O'Reilly's, that's great. But now you're spending money for something you already have. It's like that that's the one that gets me the most. That's why, if at all possible, I always ask people if they can, I'll go out and diagnose it, but if you can please get it to me, because man, all my tools are here, and I know I'm not going to forget nothing, and it never fails. There's always something I forget. There's something that doesn't go in the bag or in the box or something when I head out. And Jamie, you're right about what you said about the safety aspect, because I've had to try to get vehicles off the freeway, and man, that's no joke. And what you said, Kyle, if it's raining, man, that's just, it's horrible. That's not fun.
And I mean, you combine the two, it's real bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Flat tire, 11:30 at night. Rainstorm, cars going by at 70.
Yeah, no. One of the things I like about it is that you're your own boss. You set your own hours, and that's cool. But at the same time, if you have your phone number on a flyer, and your flyer says you're available at all times, and you get that call at 2 o'clock in the morning, oh man, rain, sleet or snow, you gotta, well, not much snow here in California, Southern California, but rain or whatever, man, you got to get your butt out of bed and throwing your dickies and go.
I mean, another thing is, being mobile and bouncing around like that, your name is going to get out. Like,
And
friends talk, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Kyle did this for me. Why don't you just call Kyle? He's a good stand-up guy. He knows what he's doing." Or Jude. I mean, he fixed he cleaned out the CDR in my diesel. Why don't you get him? He knows diesels, so get him over and he'll help you out. I mean, your name gets out there. And then if you're working part-time for a shop, then that shop's name gets out there. And next thing you know, the shop has business and everybody's happy.
And you really touched on something there, Jamie, or you said Jude knows diesels. And just because you're mobile doesn't mean you can't specialize. I mean, I'll work on everything, and there's some things I like to work on more than others. Personally, beyond brakes and oil changes, I really don't like European cars as far as electrical and engine and things like that. But Honda, Toyota, Subaru, I'll work on those all day, and I know Toyotas really well. The school that I went to, we have a Toyota program. We specialize in Toyota, so that's what I know. And Jude, it's in his name, PowerStroke Jude. He knows PowerStrokes. That's what he specializes in.
Funny thing about that is probably the thing I work on the absolute least nowadays too.
PowerStroke?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I have people bring to me from all over when I do, but I'm at least out around here. Palmdale for me is like about a 2-hour drive, and I've got a couple vehicles towed from Palmdale because I told him, I really don't want to just drive out there. I'm going to get the job, and the guy's like, "Nah, dude, I'll bring it to you." He's like, "You were highly recommended," so he'll tow it out to me. But the thing I dislike working on the most is what Kyle just said he likes to work on, and that seems like that's what I get day in and day out. But then how can I not? You can't go 2 blocks, let alone 2 feet, without seeing a Toyota or a Nissan or a Honda. They're everywhere. So and I think in my introductory video for YouTube, I said, my name's PowerStroke Jude, and I'm going to hopefully work on a lot of that, but I do work on everything. So, and it seems like I do work on everything more than I work on PowerStrokes, but it's been flipping the script a little bit. I've been working on a lot of PowerStrokes again lately, so that's pretty cool.
Working in this topic of study, like mobile, general maintenance, we have our specialties, but don't be afraid to say no, that you don't have the capability. But if you can do the job and do it efficiently, and it's outside of your specialty, branch out, expand your knowledge, expand your horizons. A constantly growing community. Just because one person's known for this doesn't mean that he or she can say, "Oh, I got a problem with my weed eater. I know you do mechanical stuff. Would you check it out, see what's going on with it?" I mean, don't be afraid to branch out and gain knowledge. We're all learning from each other, and that's another big thing of what Tech's Talking Shop does, because we all come from a different upbringing, and we all can learn from each other, as well as several others in the YouTube tool and technician community.
More than several, many others. There's lots of good channels out there. You know, it's funny you mentioned Weed Eater because it made me think of a post that another member of TTS made, Diagnosed Dennis. You guys probably saw the post where he did a relative compression test on a Weed Eater lawnmower with his picoscope.
I missed that one.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you really do work on everything.
Hey, let me ask you guys. I have a question for each of you. It's a little on but off topic, being about what we do and how we do it. First, let me start with you, Kyle. Being a younger guy, you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
When you show up to work on people's vehicles, do they ever look at you and say, "Oh man, this guy's just a kid"? Do they ever get that? And how do you handle that? What do you do about that?
Most people give me a chance. I explain myself, and I explain my reasoning, and explaining things is a big part of everything. Now, you don't need to necessarily say, okay, it's a misfire. It could be caused by an injector which operates like this and is controlled by this wire. You don't need to pull out a wire in the diagram, but you can explain yourself to a point where they trust you. It shows you're knowledgeable and you're not just winging it, if you will. And then there's some people who are like still really iffy, and I completely understand. I'm gonna say about 98% of people are like, all right, show me what you can do, and you know they're usually really happy.
That's cool. Jamie, my question for you. I know you can work circles around most people on YouTube, if not all of them. And I know you know your way around the toolbox, around the wrench, and around the vehicle. But being a woman in the field, do you ever get that? Oh, I got a woman trying to work that wants to work on my car. Are people ever skeptical about that? Being a female in the industry?
I would say early on, like back in the early 2000s, they were. But as we evolve, like as society evolves, you're starting to see more women in the trades. And yes, there's still those preconceived notions by people that, well, this girl is like working on my vehicle, and there's a little bit of a kind of like a gut wrenching type feeling that this woman is doing what I'm not comfortable doing, but she is tackling it confidently. Like the biggest thing is showing confidence. Like it's not that I don't care what people think about women in the trades. I try to prove them that, hey, everybody has a place, everybody belongs everywhere. It doesn't matter. The trades don't pick the gender. But if you jump into something confidently and you start just going at it before they even have a chance to develop a bias, and they start seeing how you're operating and how efficiently you're doing it and how you're getting the job done and your abilities to complete that job, there's no issues. I've turned several people into, oh wow, like, okay, I'm gonna call you if I have any other issues or any other future projects that I may need help on.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question for both of you, and I'll answer my own question in the end. How did you guys get into the field? What made you want to do it? Either you can go ahead and start. I don't know if Jude, you want to go first?
Sure. I've always been good with tools, and when I got out of when I was in high school, my senior year, I was a good student. I had like a 3.68 GPA. We needed 220 credits to graduate, and I graduated with like 265. Now, even though I was a good student, I hated school. So I looked at it, 18-month program to start working on vehicles, even though I'd been in shop and like I knew how to work on stuff already, or 4+ years of school. And that made my decision real easy. I didn't want to continue on, math, English, science, history. I just couldn't do that for another 4 or 6 years. And that's pretty much what made my decision. I always wrenched as it was. And even in high school, my shop teacher told me, he was the one who told me about the Phoenix Institute of Technology, saying like, you should check it out because there's a couple of you guys in this class that can probably do this, for a living. That's how I got started. How about you, Jamie?
Well, I've always been a applied science type person, even as a kid. Knowing, like I said, knowing my way around tools, digging in my grandfather's toolboxes, growing up with boy cousins, getting into like the farm equipment, tractors. And then I had a chance to go get some formal training in the early 2000s. So I got some formal training for 2 years in diesel technology. The only female doing diesel technology, which was a very interesting thing back then. Then following on to that, I did some also formal training with the military, going to schools for mechanics through the military, and most of it was diesel. And then I took a very, very long break and kind of just did my own thing whenever the need arise, like working on my own vehicles, and not as much as I'm doing now, like where I'm working on other people's, but like for these big projects. But I just do little things here and there just to keep things going and status quo. And then when the COVID happened, I was like, you know what? I'm not doing my day job as much because we're trying to do the whole social distancing and limiting the spread. So I decided to put my foot back in the industry and play catch up with learning all the newer technologies, the way of diag, the tools. I started really heavily modifying my own vehicle, starting in my kitchen. And then somebody found me like, hey, I could really use your help. You really know your stuff. I see the vehicle. I see what you're doing. Would you mind helping me out? And then I just made the jump saying, okay, I'll move my tools. I'll help you out. I'm part of this. Let's make the business grow. And here I am helping somebody out. We're working on expanding in the future. And then we'll see where it goes. Doing two different things here, and they're completely different. But I'm having fun doing both. And I like what I'm doing, and it kind of keeps my mind going.
So for me, I kind of fell into it. I'll be honest. My grandpa is a mechanic. My dad's a mechanic. Started off doing diesel in 80s and 90s, and he early 2000s left the diesel shop and went and worked for a big local municipality, a water company, working on their fleet of pickups and Priuses and Jeeps and vans and things. And it was always interesting for me to see that. And that's like, I do what every kid does. I'd be in the shop holding a flashlight or whatever. And, I started doing more and more. And I did my first oil change. And, then I rotated my first set of tires and first set of brakes and started combining those things. And it just kind of snowballed into a passion for fixing things and taking something apart, putting it back together, and watching it work again. And that's pretty much it really is a snowball effect. I'm still learning things every day. Still, you never stop learning. So
I have a question for the group.
mhm.
To kind of segue on to how we got into this. Now I would like to know, what are the future goals? Where do you see yourself saying maybe 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Where do you want to take this? How far do you want to take this? Is this something you want to continue doing full time, or continue like the part time route and just kind of doing your own thing, but having a backstop somewhere else?
I
Yes.
Well, go ahead, Kyle. I'll go after.
So for me, I'd love to do it full time, and I think I'm going to keep doing it full time because that's what I really enjoy. At some point in maybe not the near future, but the not super distant future, um, I have a shoulder injury and a back injury I need to get fixed, and that's the other thing. In this industry and lots of industries, your body plays a big role. I mean, you gotta keep yourself healthy. Um, but yeah, it's something I want to keep doing, and I don't know, maybe in 5 years I'll be in a shop, or maybe I'll still be doing mobile. Who knows? But I know in 5 years I'll still be working on things. So yeah.
I think I'm just trying to put it up, saving capital so I can open a shop. Once I open a shop, I think I'm going to do more advertising, or what you would say, what you want, to get more business. But I think that that's definitely a goal of mine, to open my own shop and do it full time. Or I'm there all the time. My godson is currently going to UTI, or he may have finished it now, or just about done with it. I think he might have 2 classes left, but I know he'd love to come work with me. And he works with me on the weekends anyway, and he can learn from me, and we can do that together. And that's something that I want to do. I want to open my own shop and probably specialize in diesels, but work on everything.
Who
Domestic.
knows? Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done.
I was
I'll
gonna
say
say,
mine. Oh,
who knows? In 5 years, I'll be maybe working for Jude across the shop, working on all the Hondas and Toyotas that roll in. Who knows?
Hey, you never know, man. You never know.
but then you can import all the stuff that turns over 25 years from all the other countries that are diesel, and then start. But I digress. My plan is being on the greater side, well, close to retirement for my main job, that to post retirement of the job of my other job, possibly doing this more full time. Well, definitely full time, helping this other shop grow if I so choose to retire in my current location. I would like to go back to go do more classes, maybe do some more ASEs just to kind of refresh, just to have them, not even necessarily it's just something good to have. Work more on like customer relations, marketing, advertising. Obviously, still turning the wrench, building a bigger customer base, location with a higher population. Um, quite possibly overseeing other workers in a shop environment, having a little better suited mobile setup, and keeping up with the new technologies. That's the biggest thing, is technology is always changing. Even if the tools don't change, the technology still just is astronomical.
Hmm.
one of the things I thought about is if I bought my own shop and just bought old broke down Fords, 6.0s, 7.3s, 6.4s, fix them and flip them. I can work on what I like to work on the most and make a profit, make a living out of it. I think that'd be cool too. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I know somebody that's pretty good at doing custom drivetrain swaps.
Oh, really?
And I do.
Nice. That's something that'd be. We'll have to talk. That's cool. Yeah. Now let's get back to with the. I have one more quick. Well, I'm not saying it has to end, but a quick thing that popped in my head while one of you were talking. I remember in my video for TTS, I mentioned that like my old man wasn't always around, but I used to go stay with him, whenever, 1 week in a month or 1 week in every 6 months, whatever it was. And he always had broke down cars. He never had something. So he was always working on something. And I remember as a kid one day, he asked me to grab him a star. And I was, whoa. And I went and I grabbed the right thing. And when he said, yeah, cool. And I remember in my head, I was like, oh, I was all excited. And that's where I think I was like, man, I like this. That's the first memory that I have of being like, oh, this is awesome. Working on cars, I knew what tool that was. And it was a stupid star to take off a tire.
One of my vivid memories was getting the old Willie's Jeep on the farm started and my 90-year-old great-grandfather dumping gas into the carburetor. And I thought he said to turn it over. And he said something going to be like a rover. And I go and fire it up and it ignites and blows right back into his face from the carburetor as he was looking down. It was interesting. But that's back on the old breaker points, ignition, carburetor. Something that I still have a very minor specialty in. So I feel like I'm one of the last of the carburetor era.
Yeah, carburetor just
that's
before my
example. That's a perfect example of how things evolve. I mean, you look at carburetor to common rail and EFI to now we have high pressure fuel rails and all kinds of things.
I have nothing against any fuel injection system. No preference.
I still believe that it may not be as efficient, but I can get at least one more horsepower out of carburation than I can out of fuel injection. If you allow me, it's not going to be a very, very efficiently done, but I think I can do it.
It's all about the smiles per gallon.
Yeah, exactly. Smiles per gallon, not miles per gallon.
It's all about going down the road reliably, whether it's running inefficient and not proper than it is if you're stuck on the side of the road and you got a myriad of electrical and fuel delivery problems.
Yep.
Like some of these 30-year-old fuel injections are starting to show their time, and the old carburetors are still running. May not be running good, but they're running.
I mean, another perfect example is distributors. Distributors, coil packs to coil on plug. I mean,
It all works.
Yeah, it all works, but you're starting to see less and less of one thing and more of another. I mean, and a couple of latest things are, stop start ignition vehicles where now you're firing off an injector to help the engine start back rotating again.
Just like diagnosing cylinder deactivation issues.
Yep.
Exactly.
And I think that everyone can advance, and that's kind of what TTS is really about. I mean, for the longest time, my diagnosis tools were all data, Mitchell, my power probe, my multimeter, a Tesla, and a good set of leads. And I recently made the purchase of a picoscope, and I'm looking at diagnosed dentists and you know uh, a lot of good YouTube channels who specialize in automotive diagnosis and learning how to use a picoscope and advancing my skills. And I think you have to do that to keep up with the industry, or the industry's just going to leave you in the dust.
I've always thought that if you need specialized tools, absolutely. But if you can read a wiring diagram and follow a pinpoint test, you can pretty much fix almost anything. That's my take. I don't know.
And I mean,
just like it took me forever a day to get comfortable with transmissions. And I had to mess up a few of my personal ones to get comfortable working on other people's.
mhm.
There's a lot of moving parts in transmissions, especially with all these electronic controlling modulars.
Yeah, transmissions are there's I to the extent of my knowledge on transmissions. I mean, I know how operation, but all R&R, man, I'll just take them to the trans department. The trans guy.
This is why I prefer manual for my personal use.
I mean, now you're starting to see a huge trend. It has been a trend, and that is the CVT, continuously variable transmission. It's a whole different animal to compare. Your 4L80, 4L60, whatever. Tear it down, rebuild it. These CVTs, most of the time you're just replacing them.
And CVTs came out in the late 80s. One of the first ones was the Subaru Justies.
Yep.
They had the belt driven, which was
Yeah. And yeah. I remember Jude was just saying something about keeping up with the industry and wiring diagrams. Well, another trend in the industry is you look at a wiring diagram and your wires just say, okay, it terminates at pin 16 on connector A2. Well, they don't show you what that connector plugs into. It's just a sealed unit. So sometimes you don't actually know what the problem is, other than, hey, the unit's bad, unless you take the thing apart and look at the circuit board. Like, I got a window switch for a Nissan thing where it went bad, and all wires were fine. The switch itself failed, and, I mean, you look at earlier electric windows, it was a really simple circuit. Now it has, anti-pinch sensors, one-touch windows, you know, even programmable windows where you use your key fob to lower the window down when you got close enough to the car. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You look at a full wiring diagram for a car, it can be very overwhelming. So,
Building on that, what I loved about working at a dealership when I worked at a dealership. Now, granted, I was at a Ford dealership forever, and I was only doing Ford training, but every to stay diesel engine, be a diesel engine master or way, every new model that came out, you always had to go to the training for that model. So you're staying up to date on training. And for every new system that came out, there was a class, and so you were always being educated on how the new systems run and how they work, and the theory and operation. A lot of times I almost compared it to just new model training, because even the engineers that were teaching the classes had never really worked on anything. They were just teaching, or basically what the salesmen were going to tell the customers that were buying them. But at least you got a sense to know as to what was in them, and you got the new literature and how to read up on it on yourself, and you could figure stuff out.
Um,
Go ahead.
as well as through an operation. I just had a question. Were you using Ford Ace or Stars?
Huh?
What training were you using when you were at Ford? Was it Ford Ace or Stars or
When I was before,
uh-huh.
it was stars, and we went, but it was always just Ford factory training. Are you talking about the tools we used?
No, the training.
Yeah, it was stars.
Because I went through that program too.
I when I went to years after I went to PTI, I went to I wanted to take the Ford program, because that's when they decided I wanted to move over to Ford, or I actually wanted to go to BMW, but I decided to stick with Ford. But anyways, I went to
Choice.
a course called Ford Fact, and Fact is Ford Accelerated Credential Training, where basically you do about, and I'm not kidding. Now, I'm not saying you come out perfect and an expert in all of it, but you do about 10 to 15 years worth of dealership training, because when you're at a dealer, you only go to school once a year, maybe twice, and sometimes it's once every 2 years. And in 15 weeks, I got like 8, 10, 12 years worth of school. Now, it doesn't mean I was an expert in it, but I had this credential, so I was able to go right into a dealership and work on warranty, because I was certified to work on their warranty products. And that's how you learn. You learn by working on them, by getting a good mentor and working on stuff and figuring stuff out. But that was pretty cool with me.
Just
Go
like
ahead.
the thing that I'm learning with the newer diesels. When I started off in school, it was the N14, the 3406B, and the Detroit 60 series, all of which did not have the DPF and DEF systems. And now I'm playing catch up and learning said systems and learning how they function and operate. And it's just like a wiring diagram. You just find your pinpoint, where things terminate, and how the system works and operates, what's causing the main issue, the main causes of faults, the potential codes that it can throw. It's just a lot of things. I mean, just to summarize my end, like as things change, we as techs got to change. Maybe not necessarily our diag. What's the word I'm looking for? Our diag theory, but we still have to expand upon it and grow.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Real quickly, because we're almost at 45 minutes, and but which isn't a bad thing. I mean, but the other thing is, man, tools. You look at how many new and great tools there are on the market today. Tools advance just as fast as cars, in my opinion, and they kind of drive each other. A company
I was just gonna say they work off of each other.
designs new system, and you need a tool to fix it. I mean, or a tool to fix it more efficiently. Like and this is an older engine. I'm not saying it's a new engine. That's just the first example that comes to mind. The 5VZ Toyota engine that's in the what is it? The first and second gen Tacomas and Forerunners. Um, they have shims for the valve lash, and normally to change a shim, well, you gotta pull the cam, timing, all that. Well, there's a special tool you compress the valve spring and you can pull the shim out without pulling anything out. You know, there's a problem and a company made a tool to fix it. And it's beyond specialty tools. It's tools that, quote, fill a gap. Like, um, a good example is the Nipex cobras. I think every mechanic should have at least a pair. But they really fill a gap between groove joint pliers and an adjustable wrench. And they're just a really good tool to have. And it's not a new tool, it's just a tool that's become really popular in automotive lately.
Yeah, it is. But there's still always those old Henri techs that I've been working with this set of tools for the last 30 years, and I don't need to go get no darn Nipex Cobras.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to get her done for me just like it has for the last 30 years, and it will till I retire. Guy who hasn't been on the tool truck in like 10 years, unless it was to warranty an old socket.
Yeah, I can kind of relate with to some of that because I'm still using the old school tools and new school world, and I'm getting by. But then again, I'm not like flat rate, but I am managing. But I do keep seeing all the new latest and greatest stuff that I keep buying every once in a while. Every time I see something, oh, this will help me more than 2 or 3 times, so let's purchase it type deal.
I mean, that's the other thing about mobile is you don't have to necessarily deal with pay scales. I mean, yes, you have a fixed rate, but you don't have someone designating what you get paid. You don't have flat rate. You're pretty much hourly, but you set your own rate, which is kind of a nice thing. And you can almost set job to job. And I don't know how you feel. I think, Jude, you said you were modified flat rate system when you were at Ford.
Oh no, I was straight on flat rate.
Okay.
I was hourly. I was hourly when I worked for a trucking company.
Mm-hmm.
You were hourly? Yeah, no, for me, man, it was straight on flat rate. If I didn't flag an hour, and I at one point had 2 apprentices that I paid every 2 weeks. I paid out of my check $660 to each of them, and at the time I had some horrible insurance. Thank you, Barack Obama. But anyways, I had some horrible, expensive insurance, and it was like 600 or something bucks every 2 weeks for my health benefits. So I had to make around $1,900 flag enough hours to make $1,900 before I got a penny in my pocket because I had to pay for my helpers first and foremost, and I had to pay for my health benefits. So yeah, I was straight flat rate. So it was hustle, hustle all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah.
I can't think of anything else off topic besides the things that have been mentioned in this video. Just cannot harp on anything more than the change of technology and just keep up with it and learn from everybody.
Yeah.
We've got a valuable resource within the community and utilize that resource to your advantage and keep on growing.
So
That's all
there's a couple things I might add. Don't be afraid to ask, but don't be afraid to learn either. You know, if you ask someone to do everything or show you how to do something every time, you're not challenging yourself enough. Now,
when you do ask, don't be afraid to ask, like Kyle said. But if you ask the same question the next day and the next day after that, yeah, maybe you better start being afraid to ask, man. Start retaining a little bit of that information.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't be afraid to admit your mistakes.
And don't be afraid to admit you don't know and you do need help, because that's how we learn.
It's exactly how we learn.
There's several times where I'm like, hey, I don't know this, but give me some time to learn it and I'll get back with you. And if you are straight up honest with them, they'll be like, okay, there's some wisdom there. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt.
See, like I'm confident tearing down and rebuilding pretty much any import or domestic engine for the most part. But you put a super advanced transmission in front of me, I don't know. I gotta go ask for help. I'm gonna go ask someone like Jamie who does transmissions almost every day. She knows transmissions in and out. Same
Well,
thing.
let's say on that frequency, but
You know more than I do, and that's the thing.
I have seen a few mishaps in transmissions that I got to put my hands on and diagnose and repair some things.
My experience with transmissions is mostly pan reseals, valve bodies, and I had a 4L60, 4L80. All I remember is someone dropped the pan and dropped all the check balls out and put one in the wrong place. And it didn't have second gear, I think.
Yeah, it's at line pressure. The check ball don't function properly. Don't get the line pressure to engage the gears. I mean, or the solenoid doesn't actuate. Depends on if it's electronically controlled 4L80 or mechanically controlled.
Yep.
But I'm not going to get into that.
See, that's a perfect example right there. Same thing. If I got a 6.0 PowerStroke that rolled up and goes, hey, it needs a rebuild. Well, I'm calling Jude because yeah, I know I still gotta do this every time.
Or not. There's one. There's
It's like doing the break dance.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Jude because that's what he knows. Same thing. If
Toyota, man.
Yeah, if he got a Toyota Camry with a 2ARFE engine, needs rebuild, he's gonna call me. Or he got uh, a 2AC, the Scion engines that burned oil. Those things are super common, and surprisingly, I still see them every now and then.
And I'm definitely calling Jamie when I need a roll cage in my Jeep or a 6-inch lift or anything like that. Jamie's man, she's definitely helping me with all that. Killer fabricator.
We gotta put a 6.0 in something, nice lift, and then build a roll cage in it.
That'd be
The
nice.
only problem with diesel for off-road is your power band's kind of small, but
The problem with diesels off road is the weight in the front.
yeah, they're very heavy for what power you get.
Depends on what you're doing, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all the technicalities and what I see work and what I didn't see work. But
Yeah.
For everyone that's watching too, I want to apologize to all my Midwest viewers. I'm in California and it's a little bit cold in here, and I'm not going to hurt your guys' feelings, but in my garage it's got to be mid to low 50s, and I know that just got a laugh from everybody, but that's why you see me constantly moving in here, man. Mid to low 50s is cold.
Guys,
I'm in my PJs, so.
Also, you're in Texas. I'm in Northern California, specifically the San Francisco Bay Area, East Bay. But you drive, up north to Tahoe, they're getting snow. So,
Hey, man, I had an awesome time talking with you guys, man. I don't know what the future holds for TTS, but if we do more stuff like this, I hope to get in a group with you guys. I really enjoyed this. Like you said though earlier, we're pushing an hour, so if you guys want to introduce your channels and say your channel goodbye, and then I'll go after that, and I have some of the other channels written down so I can remember to introduce them all. But if you guys want to go for it. I'll go last.
Hi. So, I'm Kyle. A lot of you guys know me as Key Built It. I have an Instagram, Key Built It. Yeah, I post a little bit of everything. Every now and then I even do a story. Definitely follow along. I mean, we all do different things, and all this this video will be up, and we'll all link each other's channels, and because that's what TTS is about. It's about helping everyone, because I think in this group, if someone needed help with a specific area of their car or vehicle, there's someone in this group that knows that area pretty well, and that's what's awesome about TTS.
My channel is Princess Jamie, and for the
Right.
Instagram it's 2 underscores.
Hey,
Yeah.
There.
It for the Instagram it's 2 underscores. I'll post things every now and again. Things are kind of slow. I got personal project. I build my channel more around my personal projects more than anything. Some of my 4-wheeling ensembles, but it's kind of a slow growing because I'm waiting on parts. But my Instagram, I'll post more stuff of maybe like what I'm working on without giving out specifics, because I never attribute any of my posts to a specific car or a person's car, because it's just how I am. But yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe to any of our videos that keep coming out. Check out TTS, check out TTS group. We all have a slew of videos that people can benefit from, and I want to thank everybody for watching, for not just myself, Kyle, Jude, but for the TTS and the entire TTS family itself.
All right. Well, I'm PowerStroke Jude. PowerStroke Jude on YouTube, and PowerStroke Jude on Instagram. Thanks for watching. We appreciate everybody's time. There's lots of things you can watch on YouTube and lots of things you can watch on Instagram. So for those of you that take the time to watch our content, we really appreciate it, and we really want to thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mention some of the other channels in the group. We have
excuse me. No, I just sneezed. I don't know if you guys heard it. Bloopers happen.
We have Antonio Orozco, One Mechanic, Kentucky Teck, and Turbo TyTy. Look for a similar video by them talking about fleet life and fleet mechanic. They all work on big fleets and stuff like that. We also have Nuts and Bolts with Tone, Tech Main Training, and Davion Martinez. And look for them to talk about a similar video talking about working in a shop, particularly independent shop or a dealership, because that's what they do right now. So once again, we're at underscore shop on Instagram, and all of us. I just named our channels that as the way they are on YouTube. So please, like Jamie said, like, comment, share, subscribe. Until the next time, Kyle, you want to say your outro? Bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
PowerStroke Jude.